is DeAndre Hopkins the best wide receiver in football?
I mean, I don't think so. He has a great case, and he's right. His history of quarterbacks up until Deshaun Watson is pretty bad, and his numbers were great. But I think about who I would be afraid of as a defensive coordinator, who would worry me the most as a former DB. It's not him. I'm looking at Julio Jones, looking at Tyreek Hill, those guys. And I understand they both have better quarterbacks, and maybe if DeAndre Hopkins had a better quarterback, then I would go with, or his numbers would be better, and I'd be more impressed with him. But he doesn't have the same type of defensive breaking speed that Tyreek Hill or Julio Jones has, and Julio Jones has the big body and ability to catch the ball in traffic, to catch over the middle, to outrun people. He's made some big plays in big games. At Super Bowl, he had some amazing catches against double coverage in that situation, and not that DeAndre Hopkins can't do that or wouldn't have done as much if he had Matt Ryan, but I haven't seen him do that, and he certainly doesn't have the speed to do those sorts of things. So I'm going with Julio Jones. I have to pick one, maybe even Tyreek Hill or Odell Beckham Jr. Before I go with DeAndre Hopkins. But he is certainly, I mean, no one should feel bad if you have DeAndre Hopkins as your receiver, as your number one receiver. He is one of the best in the league by far.
Look, this is the question. Is he the best? I think he has a hell of a case, and in fact, I think he would probably win the case based on the evidence. Now, there's a difference between asking me, would I take him? Do I think he's the best in my heart of hearts? No, I don't. But if I had to sit down and actually make kind of like a legalistic case, right, like the most rational case, I think he wins it, guys. Julio Jones is the best overall package. That's pretty, like, size. What does Julio Jones lack? Odell is the most talented I think I've ever seen. Antonio Brown's not in the league anymore, right? Like, those were the top three. And then there was A.J. Green, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas. Well, A.J. Green's been banged up, whatever, okay. Let's table that. And he was generally considered fourth on that list. And in the last couple of years, people have recognized Thomas and Hopkins. Now, Hopkins, has he had Drew Brees, as he points out? No, he hasn't. And yet he still puts up those numbers. Thomas, as like you can say, well, actually the best case can be made just in terms of productivity by Michael Thomas. But you can recognize, though he accounts for a huge part of that offense and percentage of the offense, no question about it, it's still Drew Brees and Sean Payton and stability and usually a great someone out of the backfield, Kamara usually, but and there have been others. You know, they have a really perfect situation for him, and he's produced. But this isn't simply Michael Thomas or Adam Thielen, who for a time was the NFL's most productive receiver. But you may point to some other receiver and say, yeah, but he beats his man better in single coverage. Like, there are things he can do if you isolate the talent that separate him a little bit from Thielen. But is DeAndre Hopkins really in that situation? Has he been in that situation where, oh, this is just perfect for him? No. He's not a product of a system. He does not have the most eye-popping talent. He has not had the most stability. Guys, all he does is produce. That's all he does. Last season, he didn't drop a pass in the entire time. It's been 13 years now. They've been tracking this. He's had the most receptions without a dropped pass. The guy is unbelievable. So if you're it's two different questions really, like, who do I think has the best case for best wideout? I think Hopkins is right. Whether or not I believe that, if I'm actually forced to look at it rationally, I don't think I could prove otherwise. I think DeAndre has the best case.
Yeah, I'm probably going to fall somewhere here in the middle. Look, I agree with Domonique as far as a former DB. If I'm lining up out there and I see Julio or I see Tyreek, look, speed is probably the number one thing that scares you as a DB because you know there's just nothing you can do about it. Sometimes people are just going to run past you. When they run past you, that's it. That's it. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. As far as, like, if I needed one guy, to make one catch, okay, all things being equal, you got the best play caller, you got a good quarterback, you got a good scheme, but needed a guy to make me a play with the game on the line, to run the best route with the most amount of strength, the most amount of precision to come down with that football. I'm going with Mike Thomas. I'm going with him because I think over the past 3 years, I haven't seen a wide receiver punk DBs on a regular basis the way I've seen Michael Thomas do it. Okay, he takes people at the line of scrimmage. He can beat them with finesse. He can beat them with strength. Literally just throw them out of the way. very efficient, very technical as far as how he sets routes up. And at the break point, at the move point, this is a guy who just will throw people off of him. If he can't beat you with his feet, he's going to beat you with his strength. And his competitive desire, it's just there. Look, I know he gets a ton of targets. He gets a ton. I mean, it's ridiculous how many times they target him. And I see what DeAndre is saying as far as if he had Drew and he had those targets with that scheme, he'd put up the same numbers. But I'm saying all things being equal, and look, and I'm not even mentioning Odell Beckham Jr., I'm not mentioning Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Julio right now. I mean, there's some people out there who quite honestly can tear defensive backs inside out and just spin them all over the place. But if I needed a guy to make a play, one play, crucial situation, perfect route, perfect quarterback, and against a quality corner, I'm going with Mike Thomas because I really do believe this guy just is not going to be denied, man. And it's not just a function of his scheme or a function of his quarterback. He's just not going to be denied.
Yeah, I like Michael Thomas, obviously, and I think that Michael Thomas is kind of one of those receivers that you would be not too excited to line up across from. But if Michael Thomas beats you, it's 10, 12, 13, 14 yards. If Tyreek Hill beats you, it's 50-yard touchdown. So that's my difference there. Or if Julio Jones beats you, it could be a 50-yard touchdown. And I think that Mike Thomas could argue that maybe the reason why he doesn't have those big plays, he could argue that it's because Drew Brees' arm strength has waned, and this is the offense that he's in. It's kind of a short pass offense, so maybe he has an ability that we haven't seen in the same way that DeAndre Hopkins could argue that his numbers are different because he doesn't have the perfect quarterback for that situation. I certainly think Tyreek Hill's numbers are inflated because of Patrick Mahomes, but that's the world we live in. Tyreek Hill gets Patrick Mahomes, and that receiver right there scares the hell out of me.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.